Byron Cooke, welcome to Let's Be Frank.
Remy, thank you very much. What a pleasure to be here.
It's so exciting to have you back in Australia.
Thank you.
How are you feeling about being back? Are you sad?
Well, I'm not sad to be back. What a weird start to a podcast. No, look, I'm happy to be here with you. I'm happy to be visiting Australia. You know, it's been a year since I left radio in Australia to go to Saudi Arabia.
I know that because I had a highlight reel pop up on my Instagram a couple of weeks ago. This time last year, we were in KISS.
Yes.
And you were mentoring me.
Yes.
And this time last year, I accidentally ended up on your podcast.
That's right.
Completely unplanned, so don't go and listen to it because...
I deleted it actually.
Oh, did you?
No, I didn't.
Whoa.
Joking. No, you were brilliant. No, a year ago, yes.
Yes.
And also, maybe it was a year and a week ago or maybe 51 weeks ago that my farewell party I had.
Yes.
To thank everyone in Melbourne.
I'm getting pop-ups of those as well.
Great, because you were such a great student and we developed a good friendship. It's a bit off-brand for us to be nice to each other, but we developed a good friendship. So much so that I thought, hey, this will be fun. I'll do a farewell party, but I'll make my own red carpet because why not? And you can do the red carpet interviews of people as they walk in. And that's still like a treasured, honestly, like jokes aside, like a treasured keepsake I have of my friend Remy talking to all my other friends on a pretty special...
It was very funny.
Night. Yeah, you were funny.
There were some very funny interviews that night.
Your interviews were brilliant. They were brilliant. Even if you do say so yourself, Remy, they were brilliant interviews.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And a credit to the person that trained you. He's brilliant.
Oh, amazing. I only learnt from the best.
Thank you.
Of course.
Thank you.
But since you are my number one fan and listener,
I am.
We know, you know how this podcast works,
I do.
You do?
I've watched them. I love them. Episodes 1 through 5. I've watched them all. I actually have. And you're great. I know you have that format at the start where you say, let's be frank.
Yeah.
So I get the wordplay's clever. Let's be.
Because B is my middle name.
Remy, be frank.
Yes.
So does that mean like we've got to be like super honest?
You can be super honest if you want, but you know, people can kind of read through the screen if you're lying. So
right. Is there a lie detector like somewhere on this
I actually would love to do a lie detector test with
you. You should do that with your guests at the end.
That would be...
It would make them deeply uncomfortable.
That's a good concept.
It's just a thought.
I'll write it down.
Sorry. I think you were trying to ask a question. So I'm so used to doing the interviews that I need to just shut up and...
This is going to be a little chaotic.
It could be a long one for you.
But anyway, since you have listened to all of my episodes as we saw, you do know how this works. We're going to go back to the start of your career, kind of work our way through this insane path you've gone down so far. I actually didn't know this about you at all. I don't know how I didn't know this about you, but you have a business degree. Is that right?
Yeah. You had to verify that. Like
I had
you
to
couldn't
verify.
Believe. You're like, how could that guy be university?
It was so unbelievable. I had to verify it with
educated. It's impossible.
But you do have a business degree.
Yeah.
At what point did you kind of realize that maybe corporate business wasn't your vibe?
Yeah, it was funny because everything that got me through that degree was the presentation aspect.
Yeah.
So you have a theoretical aspect to a business degree and then you have the parts where you get in front of people and you present. And I tended to be pretty good at that part of it and quite creative.
The part that people normally hate.
Yeah, I gravitated towards that, whereas most people didn't like that. So I was always the good guy to have in your group if you were doing like a presentation. And, you know, we would do fun things with audio visual and, yeah, you'd put on a bit of a show. In a business degree, you're sort of putting on a show. And I was spoken to by a university lecturer at the time, and I still speak to him. His name is Glenn Pearce. So a mad shout out to Glenn Pearce from the Western Sydney University management faculty, who after one of those presentations, he actually said to me, and this was I think in the final year of the degree, mate, I don't know why you're doing this degree. You should be an entertainer. And you know what? Sometimes even if you believe somewhere inside of yourself that you could do that, when it comes from someone else, it's very powerful.
It is. And
I thank Glenn to this day because he was the spark that sort of lit a fire for me. And I thought, wow, even my uni lecturer thinks I could do this. Maybe I could dare to actually do this. And it sort of planted this confidence in me. So, yeah, I had already secured a job in a blue chip company in the marketing department of a company in North Sydney. Yeah. And I already was working while I was at uni and they had a pathway for me, a corporate pathway, and it all looked great. And I think I was in that full-time job for about 6 months.
Yeah.
And it just wasn't my vibe. And so I remembered what Glenn had said to me And it was in Sydney, and I started at a media academy called the Max Rowley Media Academy, the late Max Rowley, who's a real legend of Australian radio and television. And all you needed was the money. You didn't have, it was just a great course that anyone could come and do.
Yeah.
And I learnt the basics of television presentation and radio presentation. And
fell in love? Yeah,
from there just hustled my way through to my first radio gig, and always had that belief right from the start that, no, I'm good at this. So if I apply myself, even against the odds, it's not an industry that you are guaranteed success, but I always felt like, I think once I get a microphone in front of me and the opportunity, I think hopefully the shows will get bigger. But my first gig was in a country town called Lithgow, which was a mining town just west of the Blue Mountains. And I actually started as a salesperson just to get my foot in the door.
Yeah.
And I was actually selling advertising to people that didn't need it. Like, it's such a small town. Like, it's got one of everything. They don't need to advertise. It was a tough job. I got sworn at a lot. But it got me in the building, and long story short, that radio station had an AM and an FM. It was 2LT 900 AM and it was KISS 95.3 FM, and there was nothing on from 6 p.m. It was just a jukebox. It was just music.
Yeah.
So I said to the station manager, who, by the way, had told me, we don't employ first-timers. I'm thinking, well, if you don't, who does? Yeah, like, it's a tiny town, but you don't. But I remember saying to him, hey, what if I worked for free, sold a sponsorship, and pre-recorded the night show so it didn't affect my daytime job? Because you could do that. Even back then, there was technology to pre-record shows. He said, I guess I'd have to say yes. So I sold the show to this local pizza joint. I still remember the name of the pizza joint. It was called Papadino's Pizza. And the show was called The Night Train. I thought that was a cool name for a show. It's a terrible name for a show. So it was The Night Train with Byron Cooke, thanks to Papadino's Pizza. And half the show was me just calling the guy from the pizza joint, just shamelessly selling pizzas. What? Well, it was a night show, so you still did like top 30 hits and, you know, all that stuff. But anyway, it got me on the air. That's the main thing. And whether it's
got
now,
your foot in the door.
Doing a pod like you do or whatever, the road to a big radio show now is a bit different, but you still got to get in the game, right? So that's how I got in the game. Just be creative, think outside the box. And thankfully I got that job, and then
convince someone to give you a chance.
I did, but I made it almost impossible. Like,
to say no.
Yeah, like, how do you say no to that? Like, would you like money? Yes, I'd like money.
Quite literally. You have also spoken about the fact that you used to make mock-up radio shows when you were a kid on cassette tapes. Did have to Google what a cassette tape was.
Okay, all right. I'm joking. I'm young. I don't know what a cassette. Google it, mate.
Do you think you've always had that love for radio since you were a kid?
Absolutely. I don't know why. I don't know why my dad was an audio nerd, because he was more a businessman, marketing manager type corporate guy. But my mum is my hero to this day, my late mum. She was a ballet teacher, a ballet examiner, a phenomenal dancer, a brilliant teacher, and a real entertainer. My mum did TV shows in the 80s and stuff. She was a real performer and a great public speaker. And so I was part of her world. I would go to her ballet concerts and I would run the music, even from, I think I was her lighting guy at the age of 10. So she'd put on concerts and I'd be running the spotlight on the main dancer, and I'd have the program and I'd know exactly what colours we needed for each performance. And so whilst I didn't do any ballet, so don't look for the videotapes, I did help my mum.
Don't worry, we have other ones.
Oh, I'm sure you would. I did help mum, and so I was no stranger to sort of the performance space. But then Dad, I don't know why, but on vinyl, look that up, he had these funny, I don't know why he would have even needed them, but he had sound effects records. He had albums, and then they had lists of sound effects.
Do you think it was a collectible?
I don't know why. I'll have to ask him why he even had them. But me and my brother found them. Yeah. And you could record from vinyl onto cassette. And it might be that you found a news theme.
Yeah.
And so you play a news theme off vinyl, you'd have it on cassette, and then you'd write your own mock news update. But of course ours was just some sort of dumb comedy news thing from two children. But I'd have to find some of the tapes. We made some funny stuff. We used to commentate sports. We did a lot of things. So it was always there. But I think the challenge when you grow up is to maintain that childhood enthusiasm, you know.
Making it a reality.
And it was funny. In my first radio job, I kind of was like, oh, wow, it's like, yeah, this is cool. I feel like I'm being paid to do this fun stuff I was doing as a kid. So it's kind of that childlike excitement, and I still feel that now. Like, I feel that when I rock up to NBC and do my show on NBC Loud. I'm still having fun. It's like I'm still using
that's most
Dad's.
important.
You know, the tools have changed, but I'm doing all the same stuff.
Yeah.
So I think anyone, if you're looking for your passion in life, have a think back to those early years. Have a think back to some of the stuff you used to do. Maybe if you were mucking around with Bunsen burners and stuff, you should be a scientist. You know, if you were doing mock radio shows, maybe you should think about doing that. Like, honestly, it's quite a worthwhile thing to actually think back to the things that excited you when you were a kid and see if maybe you could find a way to channel that in some way, you know?
Look at you being so inspiring.
Well, it's what I do. I inspire people, Remy. It's part of who I am. No, I'm joking.
Did you ever have a plan B other than obviously business and sales and marketing when you were a teenager growing up?
What's terrifying is certainly in adult life, I've never had a plan B. So if I wasn't presenting radio and television and emceeing events, I'm not quite sure what I would do. And I suppose that's what keeps you hungry and pivoting and at least looking for what the changes are of how can I continue to do this, whatever the technology changes may be, how do I continue to do this? So I never really had a plan B in adult life. But as a kid, I must admit, at first I wanted to be a teacher.
Really?
And
you'd be a good teacher.
Yeah.
You'd be the fun teacher.
Well, I'd probably be the soft touch. I wouldn't be the discipline. My classroom would run riot, but hopefully they'd have fun and learn.
Definitely, What year level?
Oh, I wouldn't have minded high school. High school would have been fine. Yeah, like I was thinking about being a teacher. I think I ended up going into business because Dad's like, no, do business. Teachers don't make enough money. It's like, okay, Dad. But yeah, I would have enjoyed teaching. And think about the teachers in your life, they are performers, aren't they? A lot of teachers actually are performers. Like my university lecturer I mentioned, Glenn Pierce, the guy that told me I should think about doing radio and TV, he actually performs on the side. So as a university lecturer, he's like a ventriloquist, you know, the guys that do the voices with a puppet? He does all that stuff as well.
And he performs it.
Yeah, and he's a uni lecturer. So I think teachers, uni lecturers, in a way they give a performance. So it probably wouldn't surprise people to know that a radio and TV host would have thought about being a teacher. I think a lot of stand-up comics, if you do your research on stand-up comics, a lot of them were actual teachers. And if you think about it, you've got a crowd every day, don't you?
Yeah, that is true. And
Tough crowd,
You can't be low energy.
No, but like probably 30 little brats. But if you can make them laugh, you could probably make anyone laugh, you know?
Especially teenagers.
Yeah.
If you're making teenagers laugh.
But also I did coach a cricket team to probably one of the worst win-loss records in the history of the Kenthurst Cricket Club. But I loved coaching. It was my younger brother's cricket team. So he's about 6 years younger than me. And I really enjoyed that. And I did that for many years. And these are kids at a pivotal age, you know, 11, 12, 13, 14. Yeah. And I did enjoy that aspect of leadership. And remember there was one kid and he used to get bullied a little bit. And I won't say his name because he's now probably a grown-up and doing very well in life. But he was having a pretty rough time. And I remember I took him aside. I can say his name's David because there's lots of Davids, so I think that's safe.
David,
I said, David, I noticed in the nets, and we're going to talk a bit of technical cricket speak here, which should be right down your alley.
Yeah, I know all about it.
In the nets, he was a lefty, but he had a nice defensive shot. It's something he naturally had. He could defend the ball.
Is that with the bat?
That's with the bat.
Yeah.
Well done. He could defend the ball with the bat. The ball's coming to the bat.
Yeah.
And he could stop the ball from hitting his stumps because that's how you get out.
Yes.
That's something he did very naturally. And I said, David, I've decided I've got a role for you on this team. He said, oh, really, really? I said, yes. You are our first drop. Now in cricket, that's your best batsman.
Wow.
That's your number 3. I said, but what your job is, you just hold your end up all day. I don't care if you block the ball all day. Just don't get out. Can you do that for me? He's like, yes, I can. And this is a kid who was, before I was coaching the team, was batting at number 11, not being given a bowl. I don't know why. I don't know how he even turned up anymore. He wasn't given any jobs. And I've never understood that about young sports. Like, these kids don't want to play for Australia. Give them all the chance.
Yeah.
Quite often you go to a young sports team, a club, silly little club game, and some kid's not getting a chance. Why? Because you want to win the under 11 Division 3. Who cares? Give them all the chance. And I'll never forget, I almost have goosebumps remembering this. It was about 9 or 10 rounds into the season, and this was a guy that used to get laughed at by everyone. And he came out to bat. Our opener got out very early, which they normally did. We're a pretty bad team. It was never long before we needed our number 3. He walks out, and without any irony, the opposing captain because he remembered playing him in the first round when this kid just batted all day and never got out. He said, all right, guys, this is the one we want. This is the guy we've got to get out.
And that's a compliment?
It's a huge compliment.
Okay.
And I thought, my work here is done, because I just saw his chest puff up.
Yeah.
And he's like, wow, I'm the guy that they want to get out. Like I was the joke. And I love that sort of stuff, you know, because none of these kids end up playing for Australia. They're not David Warner or whatever, you know.
Just fun.
Usman Khawaja. They're just kids that are just doing something on a Saturday morning.
Yeah. Let's
give them all a go. So long-winded answer to the question of what else would you like to do. Teaching, mentoring is something that, and of course having the chance to do that with you.
Yes. Very lucky.
It's you know what? It's rewarding on both sides. It's a thrill to teach someone to do what you do, and hopefully it's enjoyable to learn as well. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely had fun when you were mentoring
I had fun
me.
too. I had fun too. And credit to you. I know it's your show, but credit to you. I'm going to interview you.
You're being so nice to me today. I'm a little thrown off.
We'll get to the mean stuff later. You had the ambition and the vision to ask someone that you'd only met a couple of times. As soon as we met, we got along very well, but you had the chutzpah, I was going to say something else, I won't say it, to actually literally message me and say, hey, I don't know if you do this, but I'd like some media training. Would you be able to do it? Good on you. Because you'd be surprised how few people do that. Like I've media trained a few unlikely clients in the past through some mutual friends, including the rap group HP Boys. Mad shout out Tino, HP on it. I literally taught the HP Boys how to do better interviews, which was a fun few months, and their interviews actually got way better. They're great. Oh. So I had done a little bit of that. But then when you asked me, I'm like, you know what? She's got some real talent. I knew your mum. She was great. And I thought, I think I pretended I always do it, but I didn't do it other than a few random media training jobs I'd sort of picked up.
Yeah.
And I can say this now, I snuck you into Kiss FM the whole time. I never booked that studio, so sorry, Boz. And just once a week brought you into Kiss FM, literally gave you all the same production that I used on air and started teaching you how to do mock shows, I guess, like what I was doing as a kid on the cassette tapes. You were doing your version. Was it terrifying?
The first taping we did, when we listened back to it, my first
you were all right.
mock-up show.
I thought your first one was pretty good.
And then they got worse, or?
They got worse. No, they got better. You were great. And I think, we taught you to not take it so seriously, loosen up a little bit and all that. I mean, yeah, and I think no matter how, and you're going to have the brightest future. I think I'll probably always watch your stuff and probably want to critique it.
Probably, yes.
You know what I mean? Which, by the way, is good to have. No matter how successful you get, it's always nice to have. Like, I still learn. I learn from great people. You're always learning. So, but yeah, no, it's not, and it's a fun full circle moment to.
It is such a full circle.
Yeah, to be chatting to you on your own show with all these people everywhere, and I mean, I don't even know half the people here. You've got like an entourage. Who's that guy? Anyway,
a total of 3.
You're really making progress, and it delights me to see that.
Thank you. Actually, one thing that just came to my mind, I think one of the only things you said that stuck, I'm kidding, I'm so kidding.
That was harsh.
That stuck with me actually though, is in one of the sessions we were talking about obviously not taking it so seriously, and loosening up is something I'm not very good at because I am a perfectionist. But you were talking about how what we do is not life or death. We're not saving anyone's lives. We're just talking into a microphone. And now every time I come in here, I do get extremely nervous. My mum knows. But I just remember that, and it kind of helps me just
that
loosen
makes me
up
really happy to
and
hear
be in
that.
the moment, because that's the thing I think I struggled with the most, is just taking a chill pill.
Yeah, no, but you got better at that.
Yeah.
You really did. And you are funny.
Thank you.
And no, but you're funny. And I think, if you've had a career where it's more runway based and presentation based, the aesthetic's important, but you're a smart, funny person.
Thank you.
And you've got to keep leaning in. You're funny, and so keep being funny. And
try.
and just relax and keep doing what you're doing. The other profound thing I said to you that you've forgotten,
I'll probably remember.
You really should listen more. But no, the thing that relaxes me, and I'm glad something I said relaxes you. I had an ex-program director say to me once, and it really helped me, and I think it helped my presentation style when I was on the radio. They said, "You're not talking to Sydney. you're talking to one person. Think about one person in your life, and when you're on the mic, just talk to them. And I don't know why, but like my best childhood mate, Trent Wheeler, mad shout out Trent Wheeler. In the early days of my career, I just put a picture of Trent Wheeler on my phone, and I'd be on Today FM or whatever it was, and I'd pretend I was just telling Trent Wheeler about the new hit from Shaggy or whatever I was playing at the time. And it made it sound more personal because, no disrespect, but when I hear a DJ going, "Morning, Melbourne," oh, buff, because you're not talking to Melbourne. You're talking to that one person in the car on their way to work who wants to be entertained, who wants to feel like it's a one-on-one piece of communication. And I think that just ruins the intimacy. And I'm probably in the minority there because the amount of scripts I was given for promos saying, "Good morning, Melbourne," that I refused to read because what we do is intimate. So you're talking to one person. You're not talking to a city. And it also makes you less nervous.
Yeah.
There were times on some of the shows I've done, I think with Fev one morning, I was so relaxed, I swore. I forgot I was on the radio.
Yeah.
And of course, it's up to me to dump myself. You've got 7 seconds. So I dumped myself. I once called the Fox by a swear word too. That was an accident. That was an unfortunate incident. I had to dump that too. But it was some really relaxed conversation we were having. And that's when you know you're in the zone, when you're having a conversation and you're forgetting that anyone's listening. So I think that's the goal when you do what we do, for that intimacy and for that one-on-one feel. So that's something that I want you to add to the whole "this is not saving lives" is I'm just talking to one person. Now, in the case of your podcast, you are talking to one person, but I suppose forget that this then gets packaged up and put on the Instagram and don't think about that bit of it. You know, you might have some episode probably with me. This is the one that's going to take off. Let's be honest. It's going to have millions of views.
It's going to send me viral, I
think. But while you're recording it, hopefully the reason that certain episodes go really well or you have a moment or a thing is because you didn't know you were doing it.
Yeah.
It's because you were just talking and it just happened to be recording. You know, the minute you forget that these are here, you've probably got there. And that takes a while, but that's something else I want you to think about too. It's a bit of live training
next
here.
Time we come back, I'll say that to you again. And I'll
okay, great. And say, you said some many profound things to me. I'll never forget. Yeah, great. Because you did forget that.
Yes, I did.
It's all right.
Well, it came back to me when you said it.
No, good.
Your career, when Googling you, kind of reads as a highlight reel. I want to go a little bit into it so people can see more of what it actually has been like. You gave us a little insight into how you started off back in Western Sydney. But your career so far has been Triple M, Radio X in London, Fox FM with Fifi and Fev, to Kiss, to international radio.
Yeah.
Let's go back, talk about, you started, obviously you said.
In Lithgow.
Just in the middle of nowhere.
Oh, that's a bit harsh to the people of Lithgow.
Middle of nowhere
I'm
for me.
I'm so sorry if you're from Lithgow or anywhere in the Midwest. That is... I mean, come on. How do you know you don't have a huge following in Lithgow? You can't be saying that.
Maybe I do. I will after this.
Even people in Lithgow will admit it was funny. It was a compliment. It was the local butcher, I think.
Yeah.
He sort of heard your show, mate. You won't be in Lithgow for long. I thought
that is a big compliment.
That's very kind. Yeah, that's very kind. I ended up in Western Sydney on a station called 96.1, and this is before your time, because it was what we call a modern rock station at the time. And I thought it was super cool. And I managed to get myself in there. And at the time it was playing artists like Korn and Marilyn Manson and Limp Bizkit and some of these crazy like acts of the time. And I just thought, wow, this is cool. And I got myself a role there. And it's a funny full circle moment because the music director of that radio station is a guy called Alex Agachev, and he is my boss in Saudi Arabia, would you believe?
Really?
And that's how small radio is, and the lesson is be nice to everyone.
Yeah.
I still have to be nice to Alex. I don't want to be, but I still have to be nice to him.
You thought you left him in the past.
I really did. No, you keep good relationships with everybody because you don't know where they're going to pop up. He ended up building the success of Virgin Radio in Dubai with the Chris Fade show. And now he's moved to Saudi Arabia and we're doing our thing on NBC Loud, and he is an extraordinary radio professional. So anyway, I worked there, and it was funny. You sometimes get some good luck. My girlfriend at the time, Jodie, who is now a very successful venture capitalist, actually. She went on to do some incredible things, and she was always very driven. She got a job in London. And so I was working at 96.1 on this modern rock station, just doing like weekends and late night shifts and stuff. I wasn't on the breakfast show because it was just starting.
Yeah.
There was a station in London, Radio X. It was then called XFM. And it was owned by Bob Geldof, and then he sold it to Capital Radio. It was this cool alternative station. And I didn't have much experience. I only had Lithgow and 96.1. Yeah. But they were doing something. No, but they were doing modern rock. So they were doing modern rock in London. And no one had done modern rock in London. So I just had the good luck of being the guy with the modern rock on my resume and on my tape. And they heard me playing Korn records and stuff and thought, oh, well, this is cool. Do you want to work here? So I ended up on Radio X in London. The studios were in with Capital FM in Leicester Square. And suddenly I'm in Leicester Square in London. I'm on this cool radio station. And I remember in the early days of that radio station, there was a young band that came in, awkward young band called Coldplay.
Oh.
They came in.
That's not where I thought that was going.
And we're like, oh, you guys seem all right. We'll put you on.
Wow.
Another band called Muse. They came in on their first EP. I mean, we had these great acts. We were playing all sorts of cool stuff. It wasn't just rock. We were playing dance music like Faithless and Massive Attack and all these cool bands. And it was still the back of Britpop. So you had Oasis and Blur and Manic Street Preachers. And I would go to gigs every night. And it was like music university, and I just landed in this job just because I just had the right experience for them, and did that for 2 years. And then that was enough to get me on some big radio stations when I got back to Sydney, Today FM and all of that. So, you know, you can have right place at the right time moments. You can have hard moments that test you, and sometimes you get the luck falls your way, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think was the biggest lesson you learned from your first two jobs when you hustled your way onto the radio, and then at 96.1 FM that you learned, that you carry till today?
Right. Well, that's a really good point. I suppose the fact that I don't see any difference between those shifts in Lithgow to a national shift across Saudi Arabia. To me, it's the same process. I'm doing the same thing. And because it's one-on-one communication, the studios change, the microphone, in Kyle's case, it's gold-plated. That's always nice. But, you know, it's a microphone, it's a panel, people listening in their cars or these days on their devices, but it's the same thing. So I suppose that the lesson is the process is the process. Trust the process. Don't worry about the outcome. I'm still doing what I was doing in Lithgow. It's no different. Don't think about who's listening to it. Don't think about, be conscious of your audience, obviously. Tailor your content to your audience. Do all those things. Yeah. But just don't sweat it. Just keep doing what you're doing.
So like we said, you had your time on Fox FM with Fifi and Fev. Yeah. Is there any inside chaos that you can tell us legally about your time there? What was that time there?
No, I don't think I'm going to be arrested for anything I say. No, it was a great time. It was a great time, you know, and the impact you can have on community and all of those things when you're doing a big show like that is just awesome. You know, one of my greatest memories of doing Fifi, Fev and Byron was a party we did for a young kid who was getting bullied at school, and his mum called and said, you know what, this kid, he's having a real rough time. He's not getting invited to any of the parties and he's feeling a bit left out. And the team kind of thought about, well, we could do something with this. And one thing led to another. And we threw this kid a birthday party at like Rod Laver Arena.
Wow.
And or was it Rod Laver, or maybe the slightly smaller one, High Sense. Anyway, it was an arena.
Yeah.
And we invited musicians to perform, and there were carnival rides and all this. And we decided, hey, if your kid isn't getting invited to birthday parties, bring them along. And suddenly you had all these young people in a place of belonging, you know, and all hanging out and making new friends. And I get a bit emotional thinking about it. That's why we do radio.
That's incredible.
Yeah, that's why we do radio. So moments like that are what I think about when I think about my time on that show. And I think radio can do great things still to this day. And a lot of people want to be doomsday predictors of the demise of radio. But I think while ever you have live, local programs that connect with their community like that.
People that are passionate about it too.
The devices can change, the technology. But don't tell me that a town doesn't want some local friends to do cool stuff that reflects the community. Don't tell me that will ever die, because it won't. So that's why I don't worry about it. Like, It might change. It might not be like an FM station. It'll be some thing in space or something. Well, Elon Musk will probably own it. But we'll still be talking and people will still be listening. And so, yeah, that's the sort of thing that I remember from that show really fondly. And Fev was always a real champion of the people. So he helped us connect with that kind of everyday person that felt like they could relate to him because he'd made some mistakes in his life. And, well, if Fev can make a crack of it, then, these guys seem all right. They've got Fev on their show. They must be all right. You know, we were very relatable.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the show continues to be very relatable. But, I really enjoyed that. I mean, that's not really behind the scenes. You could look up that happened, but
no, but it's such a cool story.
Yeah, it was just
that you could make that happen.
It was cool to be able to have the resources to make that happen as well.
Yeah, of course.
You know, I can't remember who performed, but like I think it was like Nat Bassingthwaite or
I think no matter who performed,
it was just
that
great.
would have been a great experience for that kid, and to have so many people show up.
Well, there were promos for it, and everyone brought him a present. The guy had so many presents. I think we had sponsors to give him like a PS5 and it just got crazy. It was almost funny. Like I don't think he could fit them all in his car. Like he just had the greatest day of his life. So it was cool.
Yeah. Somewhere in there, you also had your podcast, which I was on, the Byron Cooke Show.
Yeah.
What made you want to get into podcasting?
Look, I think I have very fond memories of doing a show like Fifi, Fev and Byron, but at the same time, I make no secret of the fact that you want to have your own creative outlet. And those shows are a bit of a decision by committee. And that's fine. That's why they are successful. But you can't necessarily go in as one person and say, we should do this. And everyone just goes, yeah, we should do this. Let's do it right now. There's a process.
More collaborative.
Yeah. So the Byron Cooke Show, funnily enough, is what Byron Cooke wants to do.
Yeah.
I don't have to check with anyone. And even if the ideas suck, well, they're my ideas, so let's just do it. So I just like the idea of just being able to talk about whatever I wanted and not really worry about whether people heard it or not.
If it was on live radio.
Yeah, so it was very liberating. And, of course, it opened up the way to now do the Byron Cooke Show on NBC Loud in Saudi Arabia. And so it's just a fun process to be able to be so hands-on. And also, I didn't have a huge budget because I was independent. So I went back to the early days. And so I'm on whatever program I was using to edit. I'm editing the show myself. I'm doing everything. I'm doing, like, I remember once a Triple M breakfast show, I had a guy that used to bring me my smoked salmon every morning, like on a plate.
Fancy.
Well, no, but like you had 4 producers and you had 2 imaging producers and you had so many people. And here I am years later doing everything myself. But I kind of loved it because it's like
more personal.
Yeah, because I never got into radio to have smoked salmon given to me on a plate. I got into radio like just to do it. So, the Byron Cooke Show was a chance and also gave me some balance in my life, doing a breakfast show. If you're not feeling like you're having a full creative input into a show, but you're still getting up at 4 a.m, it'll test you.
Yeah.
And so suddenly it freed up some time. I had more time. I could take my podcast. Unfortunately, lockdown happened, which made it hard. But as soon as I could travel to see my son, I was able to take my podcast to New Orleans where he lived and do it from there for a while. I couldn't do that if I was at the Fox, So it gave me flexibility. It gave me some creative freedom. Nowhere near as much money. But it was fun.
Okay.
It was fun.
Fulfilling.
It was very fulfilling and it led to something greater than I could have imagined. So it definitely was a lovely pivot from that to what I do now, yeah.
Yeah. Like you said, now you've got your Byron Cooke Show at NBC. You're on a completely different level now with international radio. I know you think you're still doing the same thing just in Saudi Arabia, but you are doing international radio with NBC Group. It's the first English-speaking commercial radio show over there.
Well, you've done your prep. Yes, correct.
I do my prep.
Jeez,
that's correct.
Someone's done some Googling. Wow.
That's very impressive. I really want to know, because I didn't ask you this when you first told me, because I was kind of like, what? Like, what are you doing? But what was the email or phone call that started this, that got you over there?
It's a good question. I'd always, through the guy I spoke to you about that was playing Marilyn Manson records in Seven Hills in 1999, Alex Agachev, through him, I always maintained a great relationship. Funnily enough, again, it's the sort of spinning, rotating, revolving door of radio. I worked with him again at Triple M in Sydney about 10 years later.
Yeah.
But even between those times, he had become a good industry friend and someone I really respected his opinion on things. I might sometimes send him tapes and he would give me critiques. And so he was just a guy that I always respected a lot. When he made the move to Dubai, I found that fascinating. He moved from Australian radio to Dubai. Now,
Wow.
keep in mind where I've moved, Riyadh, is the new Dubai.
Yeah.
So we are now on a trajectory the way Dubai was. So he went to Dubai and was part of the success of this extraordinary brand of Virgin Radio Dubai and the great Chris Fade, who I think does great work, and his whole team. And Alex drove that show and built that thing to something incredible. And what they do is incredible. So I always had half an eye on him over there. And I think from time to time there was some discussion that I might go over there and do a show. It never quite happened because I was always quite happy here. I was on some pretty good shows. So anyway, when he made the move to Saudi Arabia recently, I was like, okay, that's interesting. So it just sparked my interest in what was happening in Saudi.
Aware.
Yeah. So I started doing my research and I find this thing called Vision 2030 and I go, wow, this is unbelievable. I've got to know more about this. So I do more and more research. And then I ring Alex and say, hey, I'm seeing my son in Paris. Why don't I just come back through Riyadh? I just want to get a feel what's going on. He said, sure. I think he was surprised. Sure, all right. And so I see my son and I changed my flights to go through Riyadh instead of just straight back home. I was there for 4 days and I knew this is where I need to be.
Loved it.
It was just so much optimism in the air and just everything about what was happening. It's not there yet, but that's what I love about it.
The potential.
It's booming. And there's already a great energy there, but it's just getting bigger and bigger. So I visited him and he took me on a tour of NBC and I instantly, radio stations are the same anywhere you go, whether it's an Arabic language, English language. They always have someone on reception that runs the whole radio station. Everyone knows that. Be friends with the receptionist because they run the building. And there's just lots of similarities. All the audio producers seem to have the same personality, but they're just different faces. I just walked in there and it was like being in Lithgow, except a fancier building. And I just felt really comfortable there. I met a lot of the presenters. There's one English language station, NBC Loud. There's NBC FM, there's Panorama FM. They're the Arabic language stations. Yep. I was taken on a tour. Everyone was so cool. Producers, presenters, all the staff. And I kind of subconsciously was walking around like I already worked there. It was really weird. I just felt like I'm obviously going to end up here. There was no job.
No.
But I just felt really comfortable. I met JR, who was then doing the morning show, and saw him and got on so well with him. And one thing led to another after that visit. And I remember Alex saying, oh, you enjoyed being here? Yeah. I'm like, no, I'm going to work there if that's all right with you. I'd like to work there.
There was no hesitation.
No, I didn't even think about it.
No.
And now I work there.
Yeah.
And I host the breakfast show. So it's cool. And JR, the guy I met.
It was meant to be.
Well, he was quite happy to sleep in, as it turns out. So now he does the sports show and practically runs the station, actually. Credit to JR. So it wasn't even awkward when I arrived. No. The people that we came in to replace were quite happy to move to the drive show. And it was just a win-win for everyone. And the station is now really picking up a head of steam. And we had a great Ramadan. Things are going really well at NBC Loud, and it's just the beginning. Yeah. So it's really exciting to be part of something right from the start. And look, if we end up half as successful as a Virgin Radio, we've done really well, and I'm confident we will. So,
were your friends and family surprised or supportive? What were their reactions?
They've learned not to be surprised. I'm random. So for my dad, he's like, well, of course you're moving to Saudi Arabia. That's something my son would do. I've forever left my father, poor guy. I've moved to London. I moved to the United States. I mean, I was in California for 5 years. He's got used to he can't really keep up, poor old bloke. So no, he wasn't surprised. WhatsApp's good. WhatsApp voice notes are good, aren't they? Because you don't have to talk. You love
a voice note.
You don't have to talk to the person. It's an on-demand thing, So we do lots of WhatsApp voice notes and friends and family were not surprised at all. The people who know me know that's the sort of thing I would do, people who really know me. So no surprise, no issues. With technology now, trust me, I've been a long-distance parent for my son's entire life. With technology, you can be very, very present and you miss nothing. I mean, obviously you do as much face-to-face as you can. But, I'd say to anyone considering a move overseas, just do it. Honestly,
experience.
And don't worry about missing your family. They'll still love you. Just go. Honestly, go. I think sometimes family's important. I respect that. I think sometimes it becomes a barrier to doing what you want to do. Just if your parents really love you, they might kick and scream for a little bit, but they'll eventually come around. If they love you, they want you to be happy, right?
Yeah.
So just go. you know, I stopped asking Dad. I'm a grown man, so I don't have to ask, I don't have to ask my dad permission. But yeah, no problem. Yeah.
What does your day-to-day look like hosting breakfast radio, Saudi Arabia?
Yeah, you're still up very early. You're up about 4. You're in before 5, and we're on air from 6. You've planned a lot of the show the day before, after the show. You've done a lot of post-show work so that you pretty much know tomorrow's show, barring any topical stuff. So you've done a lot of work the day before. You turn up, you check what the topical hits are going to be for the day, and you just plug the rest of the show in. But most of the show's plugged in the day before. You get on air at 6. Your first break's allowed to be a bit messy and sloppy because you're just sort of getting, even the bosses know that. If you ever want to hear the loosest parts of any morning show, if you're listening in Melbourne or Sydney or wherever, listen to the first break because it's pretty random. You're just talking.
Yeah.
But then the show becomes more structured. You'll have your benchmarks, and we have the pop quiz at 7:10 and certain things that are just post-signed parts of your show. Your topicals, your interviews. Yeah, you know how the show's structured. It's all planned. What you say isn't planned, but you know what you're doing at each part of the show. Yeah. So yeah, in from 5, prepping till 6. And the best part of your day is when you're on air. The worst part of the day are the stupid meetings. I don't really like those. But you have to be in them, and some of them are important. So if any executives are listening, they are vitally important, and I love them. I love them. Did I say I didn't like the meetings?
No, you said you love them.
Thank you. I love those meetings. But it can drag on. I remember being involved in a national drive show that started at 4 p.m. And sometimes we'd be in boardrooms from midday, and it's like, you are killing my buzz, man. Like, why am I in a meeting at midday? I'm on air at 4. I have to have high energy for the whole country.
At
5:55 p.m., I've still got to be on, and you've got me in a meeting at 12. Why? like radio people, we've got to be prepped, but a lot of them were important sort of sales meetings and things, but you sort of think to yourself, could we do this in another way? Like, I think unless you are an on-air performer, some people don't understand that to be on, you're on. And so I love a breakfast show.
It is a performance.
Yeah, a breakfast show I prefer to a drive show because there's some expectation that you're going to be in the office for 8 hours a day because I guess it's a job. So, okay, fine. I'm happy to do off-air work after a show.
Yeah.
I hate doing off-air work before a show.
Because you'll be drained.
At 4 o'clock, you're spent.
Yeah.
And then you've got a show to do. So, yeah, you get in early, you have your coffee, and before you know it, you're talking and your day started. And then you do some stuff after the show that you've got to do. And that's kind of how it works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does it feel like home yet, or do you still feel
it does. I'm actually, other than this, which I'm really enjoying, I'm actually ready to go now.
Yeah.
I could go now. Not right now. Let's finish the show. No, I love it. It is home to me. A few people when I came back to Melbourne said, welcome home. And it felt a bit weird.
Yeah.
Melbourne's a place I worked for 10 years that I love, but I wouldn't call it home. It might be home again in the future, but honestly, Riyadh feels like home already. Great community, like-minded people, the most welcoming people you can imagine. The Saudi hospitality is real. People will invite you into dinner off the street who don't know you.
Really?
And in Melbourne, you'd go, back off creek. Yeah. You'd call the police. In Saudi, you take them up on that offer. You just walk into houses and have dinner.
Wow.
I can't explain how nice people are in Saudi Arabia. You have to go there to understand that it is real. You know, it's funny. When the announcement came out, a few people came out to say, hey, good luck in Saudi Arabia. Stay safe. Stay safe?
What does that
What do you mean? Saudi Arabia is the safest country in the world. There's no crime. It's safe. People have morals and integrity, and you could walk along the main street of Riyadh at 4 a.m, Remy, and have no concerns.
Yeah.
None.
Wow.
I promise. I felt like saying to them, you stay safe. You live in Melbourne. That's dangerous.
At this point,
it's safe. And it's a beautiful lifestyle. It gets a bit hot in summer, but it's a beautiful lifestyle. And so, yeah, it does feel like home.
Did you ever have a moment of like when you first got off the plane where you were like, well, I'm not in Australia anymore or Melbourne?
Never. I didn't.
You adjusted really quick?
Really quickly.
Yeah.
It was just exciting. It's like, wow, this is new, and the people here are optimistic and they believe in the future of their country and they're locked in, and how cool is this? Let's get to work. Like I never thought about it, and then I just was too busy enjoying it. I have not, this sounds horrible because I love Australia, but I've not missed it a bit.
Really?
And that sounds terrible, but obviously I love Australia and my family and my friends and the great cities of Australia, but I don't, to say I miss it is a bit.
It's a new chapter of your life.
Yeah,
and
so
it's your
I
current.
don't miss it because I'm so engaged in what I'm doing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's a good thing.
Yeah, yeah.
How do you think Saudi radio differs from Australian radio?
Well, firstly, it's mainly in Arabic.
Well, obviously.
No, but honestly, I mean, to give you a sense of the landscape, the most listened to radio station in Riyadh is the Quran. So it's the Quran, and people listen to the Quran on the radio. So that just gives you a perspective of the landscape, okay? So we are targeting expatriates. We are targeting young Saudis that speak English. We're targeting non-Arab and Arab expats. A lot of our listeners have come in from such countries as Pakistan, Bangladesh, India, and they've come in to take jobs and to do important work, and they're more likely to speak English than Arabic.
Yeah.
So a lot of our audience are from that part of the world. It's fantastic. You know, we've got this diverse audience from all parts of the world. So we're this strange brand that unites someone from Bangladesh with a European that's come in as an expat.
Yeah.
And what links us together is the English language. And from there, you realize that people are very similar. And we're all pretty much the same. We all want to have a good life. We all want to be cheered up in the morning. Hopefully the show makes us feel good. And there's not that much, topical things. We all want to know what Ronaldo's up to. Or it's not hard to find a topical thing that everyone can be interested in. And so you just do the show. But you're bringing together, it's so much more diverse there. And it's a fun challenge. You're like, oh, wow, I've got to make a show that guy likes and that she likes. Yeah. And they both have to like it. And so it's fun. But it's not as easy as it might be to do a show here where it's a bit more sort of, oh, well, this should work.
Yeah.
We've got to kind of fly by the seat of our pants a little bit. Yeah. But no, if the question was how different is it, the landscape's different. Arabic language is the prominent language. I am in the early stages of my Arabic lessons. Salam alaikum. Say wa alaikum salam.
Wow.
Well, that's what you meant to say back to me.
Oh, what does it mean?
Well, I'm greeting you and you're thanking me for that greeting.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, we'll get to the lessons later.
Is there any lines that you continue to butcher?
I butcher everything. I mean, I butcher everything in any language. But no, look, I'm early days in my Arabic language journey. But again, what's great, so we have stations like NBC FM that are legendary stations that have been on air for 30 years. We're very new. We've only been on for a year. But people have an understanding of NBC Loud, not to big note myself, but if I get into an Uber and I start talking, because I don't look like many other people in Riyadh, they suspect I might be someone doing something, and they pretty quickly work out I'm the guy from NBC Loud. They go, oh, NBC Loud, NBC Loud. So there's already an awareness, even though we're not the primary language. And I might be with an Uber driver and I'm sort of butchering my Arabic, but they want me to help them learn English. So it's this two-way thing. So it's really cool. So we're a smaller part of the culture, but we're a growing part of the culture, and we're a welcomed part of they love it and we love it. So yeah, it's really cool.
How do you go, probably now you're a bit more in on everything that's going on in those areas, but how do you stay kind of involved in the pop culture there when you first got over there, being new to the area and not really following anything yet?
Yeah. Well,
how did you adjust to that?
Well, interestingly, NBC Loud is centred around a more Western pop culture.
Really?
So it's kind of targeted to people that are interested in sort of the same stories that you're interested in.
Yeah.
So, and that's kind of like an aspirational kind of something that even the locals find interesting. There is a nice crossover. I recently did the lavender carpet at the Joy Awards.
I did see that.
Wow. Like this was an epic night. Like just wow. I'd never seen anything like it. And I've worked all these big Australian awards nights and the Logies, and I think we have a radio version. What's it called again? Not quite as impressive, but still. Accras.
Yes.
Anyway, this was so big. But so you had the well-known Western kind of stars that were from American movies or whatever. But then what I started learning were these what we call pan-Arab stars, right? And I've got to get better at knowing them. I know some of them through friends that have helped me identify. I'm now very good friends with Miss Lebanon, very good friends. Nada Kusa is a friend of mine. Not that I'm name dropping, but sure, I know people. No, but different people I've got to know from doing red carpets there now that you may not have heard of in Australia, but I know them. They might be from Lebanese TV shows or from local Saudi media. You realise that there is actually crossover. So we're still finding that nice balance.
Yeah.
There was a couple of Turkish stars. I had no idea who they were, sadly. So I let them go straight past me. the drive show host, Dana, who's a Saudi, she's one of my good mates, she recognised who they were. She was further up the carpet, right?
Yeah.
She sees them both. They're a husband and wife, Turkish super celebrities, known all over what we call the Middle East and North Africa. And their show is seen everywhere. She interviews them, and I can't remember something that they said in English, because they speak good English.
Yeah.
Something that they said caused some stir. That video got like 6 million views. I let them all pass. I let them all pass me because I'm still learning.
Yeah, you're still getting in on it.
But I'm only talking to you a year into this. I want to do this for 15 years. So give me 2 more years and I'll know every single Western and Arab star. I'll be able to speak both languages.
You'll get in on it.
And your footprint just grows. I'm still learning. But no, we mainly focus on the sort of the Western pop culture, you know, what's Taylor Swift up to, all the stuff that, you know, you might be interested in. But then we do absolutely find that blend.
A mix.
With your Ronaldos and your Neymars and, you know, local football or, you know, local stories that have a pop culture bent to them. Yeah, and I feel like we'll find even more of that kind of Arab crossover, and we'll get even better at that as time goes on, so that I don't miss the 5 million viewed interview.
So you get that viral
I'm glad
video.
Dana got it though. Like, you know, it was a win for the team, and we joke about it. It was cool. It was really good. But yeah,
next time it'll be you.
Thank you, Remy. Or you. I'll invite you over to Saudi Arabia. You can do the red carpets.
I would love that.
Please.
Let's make that happen.
Yes, you're welcome. I'd take about 50%.
That's fine with me.
Okay, wow.
That's so fine.
You heard it here first. Okay, I'll take half your money.
Let's step away from Byron on the mic.
Step away from Byron?
Let's go personal, a little bit more about you personally.
Okay.
You just said that you want to be there for 15 years, so you kind of answered my question before I got to ask it, but do you plan on staying in Saudi Arabia long term?
That's the plan. I mean, of course you learn in media that things can change, but if you ask me and what am I putting out there to the universe, is that I will be there for a long period of time. I said on the very first show, forget Vision 2030, we're here to Vision 2040, and I will have had a lot of plastic surgery by then. And I'll still be there.
What are you doing first?
Still playing the pop music at whatever age I am in 2040. I'd hate to think, let's not do the maths, right?
No, we won't.
Let's definitely not.
That.
You'll be about 30. But no, it's a long-term plan because the country has a long-term vision. And honestly, Google Vision 2030, you won't believe what you see and what Saudi Arabia is doing. 2034, the FIFA World Cup is coming to Saudi Arabia. 2040, there's a vision. It will be unrecognisable to what it is now. Here's one thing, one element. We're planting 1 billion trees. Yeah. 1 billion trees. That's a lot of trees.
That is.
And that's just one tiny aspect of what Vision 2030 is. So you wouldn't believe it. And you wouldn't believe how excited people are to be a part of the process. And the people are locked in. And so, of course, I want to be sort of on the sidelines, being the clown on the radio in the morning that's kind of part of that journey, commenting on that journey, almost like some sort of social commentary along the way.
Clapping from the sidelines.
Absolutely. Like I'm not building the line, but I'm talking in the morning and hopefully giving everyone a bit of a pep talk on their way to do all the important things that we're doing, because there is a sense that we're all building the country together. I mean, it has a rich history, but like the future is really exciting, and we kind of get to be a part. We're actually helping to document that and what it looks like. So that's when you put that into context, it's quite meaningful. And so, yeah, it's really exciting. So, yeah, I'd like to be doing it for a long time.
And we spoke briefly about your son, Zephyr. He actually came to visit you recently.
He did, yeah.
Can you talk to us about your balance between navigating, obviously you spoke about a little bit, fatherhood across seas, basically his whole life. Tell us how you went about navigating that and what it was like having him come and visit recently. We're
a complicated bunch, our family, because I still get along very well with his mum, my ex-wife. And so it's really a bit of a difficult one as an elevator pitch to say, I'm an Australian living in Saudi Arabia and my American ex-wife lives with my American son in Paris.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a
tongue twister.
It is, and it kind of doesn't flow. Everyone's like, that probably sparks about 7 questions just in that one thing. So that's another whole separate podcast. But anyway, he lives in Paris now because he did a lot of travel with his mum. She has an Instagram called Single Mum Budget Travel, and she's travelled the world for years with him. And I've often joined them as much as my schedule's allowed me. He's seen 150 cities in his life, and he's only 16. He learned off of a laptop for many years doing the K-12 Academy, distance education, and was always very, very successful in those classes. My son is the most random and amazing kid. I remember once, because if I'm not with him, I know what he's doing every day. I was with a mate. It was Christmas time in Australia. I said, do you want to see what Zephyr's doing? Like, yeah, all right. Oh, he's just walking a reindeer around the North Pole like it's a dog.
What? You're joking.
No, this is the sort of stuff. No, he's in Borneo. Oh, where is he this time? Oh, he's in Tanzania.
What experiences?
He's a very well-travelled kid. So anyway, during lockdown, he said to his mum, hey, Mum, like, do you mind if we live in Europe, like preferably Paris, maybe Berlin, maybe Oslo? And she went, she's very flexible. She works off of a laptop. She works in a distance type. Yeah. She went, all right. Credit to her, great mum. She found a way to get them to Paris, and now he's been in Paris for 2 years. He's fluent in French, and he's topping his class. I'm a bit of a proud dad moment, but he's just doing so well.
That's incredible.
So, part of the appeal of going to Saudi was to be close to him in Paris, and like distance parenting is a great challenge, but it's so worthwhile. I don't want to think about how many stamps are in my passport. I don't want to think about how much I spent on airfares, but every cent you don't think about it because you're there for your kid. And he came to Riyadh. He absolutely loved it. He'll come back over and over. As a young guy who loves his football, obviously I got to take him to watch Al Hilal and a tour of the Al Nassr facilities. And so, he's a sports freak. So, Saudi is now like one of the big hubs for sport. He loved the culture. He's already speaking better Arabic than me, which is really annoying, because he didn't know a word of it before he arrived, and he's speaking. He's just annoyingly good at things.
Right.
Anyway, no, I love him. So that's been amazing, and I can get to him in a 5-hour flight or 5.5-hour flight from Riyadh. So
that's great that it's just worked out like that.
It's really cool. Yeah.
We're going to do some rapid fire questions, but first, I need you to make.
How much longer does this go for?
I need you to make a couple of statements on some videos I have here.
What videos?
Of you being. They're great videos of you.
Oh,
they're my favourite.
Okay. I know. Okay. So do you want me to actually play the audio?
You can if you'd like.
Because that's real. The audio makes it even more embarrassing. Okay. There we go. Okay, now press play.
Here it comes again. Here it comes again. Here it comes again. Oh, no. He's missed making contact with the football from 1 metre out. Who is this power play that is a power failure? That is not possible. There's a power outage here.
Oh, the replay.
It's harder to miss this ball.
Oh, it's even worse now. Okay, look, that's an interesting choice.
Yeah, your AFL fail.
Yeah, well, will you on the YouTube? Will you show that? You probably don't have the rights.
Yeah, I'll insert it.
Are you allowed to? Talk to your producers about that. Yeah. I hope you're not allowed to. You know what? I hope you don't get permission to play that, because this is
great. No,
this
it's
is a
really
stitch-up.
funny.
Are you joking?
It's really funny.
Yes, it's funny because people are laughing at me, not with me. No,
how did you even end up in that position?
I don't know how I ended up on the field. I'd never kicked a football before.
Obviously.
It was Fev's idea. It was of course it was Fev's idea.
That is probably my favourite video of you ever.
Okay. So for those who probably can't see the video because Remy didn't get permission, it was the the Ted Whitten Celebrity Game.
Yes.
TJ Whitten Celebrity Game. Sorry, I've been out of Melbourne for a while. I didn't get the reference right. So it's the Whitten Celebrity Game, and you have mainly established legends of the game, some of them who've only retired like a year ago. So they're basically.
And then Byron Cooke's on the field.
Well, okay. Yeah, then you have a few old timers that maybe haven't played for 10 years. They're a bit out of shape, but they're still good. Yeah. Like they can still kick a ball. Like they're former professional players. And then you had the odd random non-player that comes on as what they call a power player. That's why it was called a power failure.
I liked that line. That was my favourite.
The pun that, yeah. So I was required at the end of the first quarter to come on. Now, Fev had a plan. I know Fev had a plan. He wanted me to be a defender for the opposing team, and I knew he was just going to deck me. Like I knew. But Karma is and Fev got hurt really badly and he couldn't play. So I'm like, yes, he can't. I'm glad he's hurt because he can't hurt me. So he was off the field. So my coach, Wayne Carey, said, we've decided we're going to put you at full forward. So I have one of the greatest full forwards of all time tell me that I'm full forward. I have not so much as kicked a ball. Like I love watching the Sydney Swans, but I played cricket and basketball. I never played AFL, ever. I'm not even exaggerating. I didn't even pick up a ball and kick it in my life. And I'm suddenly running out onto a field on national television.
And
I'm
you
looking
somehow kicked it backwards.
Well, I'm looking at Cameron Ling and Gavin Wanganeen. I'm like, why am I here? This is ridiculous. I didn't know what to do. I went to mark a ball almost like a cricketer. It was like a slips catch. It was terrible. And yeah, in that situation, at point blank range, I've somehow missed the ball and kicked it backwards.
Yeah.
I don't know how I did that.
And then failed to tackle.
Bruce McAvaney said to me the next day, because I had to do a TV cross from the races the next day, and of course they thought they'd replay that on national television the next day, funnily enough. And in fairness, Bruce McAvaney said it's actually harder to do that back kick.
Well, so that's one skill you have.
It's actual skill. So, you can say what you want, but no one's ever done that. You're welcome.
I mean, I can't compete with that. I can't argue with that.
You can't. It's a back kick.
That's a back kick.
So if I turned the other way, it would have gone in.
Exactly.
So there you go.
And then you would have won. But
okay. Okay. Oh,
yes,
okay.
you're in your cowboy era.
I was in my cowboy era, which was a very brief era.
Yes.
I see what you've done there. Okay, here's the problem. Okay, there's a reason that the handler is keeping a hold of the horse. Here's the thing. I hadn't ridden a horse since high school, and I sadly fell off that horse and dislocated my wrist.
Some PTSD there.
No, honestly, you know that saying, get back on the horse? I never did. I fell off the horse. It was embarrassing. It was in high school. I never got back on the horse.
Right.
And I had an opportunity to ride a horse in the Arabian desert. And this is the thing. If you're a beginner, you ride some sort of pony or something, right? Or you ride some sort of placid horse that's well-trained, that's used to having kids on the back of it. Or great.
Yes.
This is a wild Arabian stallion. There are experienced riders that would not get on that. Do you know what happens with these horses if he wasn't holding it? It just bolts to the desert, in the middle of the desert, and then you're stuck in the desert for the rest of your life and you die. Do you want that for me?
So how did you end up in this position?
Well, it was an opportunity to ride a horse for the radio show, so I clearly took it, and I trusted the people around me that they wouldn't let the horse run off, because I'm not kidding. These horses run we were in a Jeep in the desert at full speed, and the guy here that was riding the horse to the place we wanted to shoot, the horse was running faster than the Jeep.
Wow.
This thing is a weapon. And I'm on the back of this thing. It's a wild, I cannot emphasize.
Did you figure it out or?
Of course I didn't figure it out.
No, it just kept going
that bit
in
you
circles.
That's how long I was on the horse. That's it.
Fun experience.
Yes, don't tell anyone.
And great video.
But that's it.
Great
as soon as that video stops, I get off the horse and we all go home.
You got the clip.
I got the clip.
Yeah.
And I remember at the time.
I can appreciate the hustle.
No, but you actually commended me on my aesthetic. You quite like that
it
look.
was very aesthetic.
Thank you.
Just if it was a photo, maybe.
Yeah, I think.
Not the video of the horse.
The awkward horse riding takes away from the aesthetic.
Okay,
Yours.
a couple more questions and then you can leave.
I don't want to leave. I've got a lunch appointment. Sorry,
guys.
joking.
No. What has been your biggest on-air fail that you can remember?
Biggest on-air fail? Yeah, well, I mentioned it earlier. I called 1019 the Fox, 1019 the F something else because I was thinking of another word. I think I was thinking of like Alpha Bucks, which is one of our competitions. Right. So I'd like you to use your imagination here and combine Fox with Bucks and imagine what I called the station. I just think I was thinking of 7 things at once. There was
you're a little all over the place.
There was paper all around me and I've literally said, it's Melbourne's 1019, that word.
Right.
And Fifi and Fev just lost it. And Fev said, this is the greatest moment in the history of the show.
Well, at least it ended up being funny.
It was funny. I did dump it in
devastating.
time because, of course, if you don't dump that, it's going to get you in a bit of trouble.
Yeah.
But we love the 7-second delay. We really do. And on stations that Kyle works at, we have about a 1-minute delay, just in case. But no, 7-second delay, and you've got 7 seconds to decide, ooh.
Maybe not.
Should I? Yeah, no, I just called the station a really rude word, dump. Yeah. And that's enough. In your internal dialogue, 7 seconds should be enough. So that wasn't great.
But it didn't go to air. So
no, but they ended up putting out a video of it. Of course they did, with a bit of bleeping. So that's not ideal to call the station a swear word. That's
funny.
That's probably the first one that springs to mind. Yeah. I'm sure there's many others. You could ask any of my colleagues. We'd probably be here for another hour if I actually went through all the mistakes I've made. But you know what? That's part of it. Like, as I said to you, like, who cares?
Who cares?
You know what I mean? Like, if I was putting someone into outer space and if my mistake was going to kill them, I would care.
Yeah.
But if it's that I've said something silly and I've made a fool of myself, it doesn't matter.
Everyone will forget.
Doesn't matter.
What's your biggest on-air ick, whether it's something you do or other people do?
The one I mentioned, I should stop answering questions before you ask them. I don't like when radio announcers call the city by the city.
As a whole.
Good morning, Brisbane. Hello, Sydney. Just don't do that, because I'm listening to you going, oh, so it's not just me.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm just one of everyone else. Because the best radio hosts, I feel like they're talking to me. So, and some of these are good radio hosts that do it. So I'm not saying they're not good radio hosts, but it's just a shame. It just takes away
the intimacy.
Yeah. So that is an ick, a pet peeve, whatever you want to call it. But I don't like that. I just think we're in a position where we can be someone's friend. Let's not, I don't know. It's like if I'm speaking to you and we're having a coffee together and I say we're in St. Ali. Hello, St. Ali. It's like, no. Hello, Remy.
Yeah.
Like, I'm speaking to you. So anyway, yeah, I don't like that.
And if any of your co-hosts could describe you in a couple of words, past or present, what do you think they would be?
Annoying. No, I don't know. Honestly, hopefully fun. I do like to keep the show organised. So they might say organised, which might surprise you, but on a lot of the ensemble shows that I've done, you're often a ringleader. Like there was one show I was on called The Shebang, and at times we had up to 6 comedians on at once. Can you imagine? It was like being a teacher.
Yeah.
And you had to be the ringmaster and their parent, and like
Keep
it was
on
my
track.
job to keep it all on track.
Yeah.
I've worked with hosts that were so loose, they weren't even ready. They were off. They weren't even in the studio when we were about to talk. They're running off somewhere else in the building. Get back in here and do the show. So honestly, some of these radio people are really loose.
Chaotic.
And you got to keep them in line. So
Yeah.
I've always been more the anchor role. I've always been the one deciding when we start, deciding when we stop, deciding what bit was funny, or deciding when we had ended the conversation. I'll come back to another pet peeve. I can't listen to radio because I'm always imagining me doing it.
Yeah.
And I keep going, why didn't you go out on that? Why are you still talking? So I find it hard to listen to because I would do it differently, and the way I do it probably annoys someone else. But no, that would be hopefully what they'd say, like the
Hopefully
ringleader.
nice things.
I'd say, yeah, one word answer, the ringleader.
Yeah.
Hopefully they saw me as that. Then they could like me, not like me, but they'd at least respect that I was the ringleader. Yeah.
And finally, the last question, probably the most important, if I'm being honest. What has been your favourite interview to date so far throughout your career?
I'd say as an experience, not just as an interview, but as an experience, it's something I'll always cherish, was a trip I did with the late Michael Gudinski, which was so special, to interview Taylor Swift in Detroit while she was on tour. That was just something else, because everything you would hope Taylor Swift is exactly what she is. She is just the coolest person you can imagine. She's so warm. She remembers your name. She remembers things about you. Her mum, Andrea, is a sweetheart, and I'm glad Andrea's health is better now. That whole experience was just wild. I mean, to fly there next to Michael Gudinski, who, by the way, didn't want to talk about music. He wanted to talk about all his racehorses because he loves racing. But just, given he's not with us anymore, that's something I always cherish. Obviously, he was bringing Taylor out. So back then, probably before social really blew up, local radio hosts were sent to shows so that you could go watch that show and then come back on the radio and go, hey, get your tickets to Taylor Swift because I just saw the show in Detroit and it's so good. So that was kind of
To make it believable.
the promotional angle for doing it. But you're there for 3 days. You're a guest of Taylor Swift. So you're there for rehearsals. You're watching her rehearse. Ed Sheeran was the support act back then, and we'd already had a relationship with Ed through the station. So you're in this crazy world where you're with Michael Gudinski and Ed Sheeran and you all know each other. It was bizarre. But I remember, I'll never forget, I'd interviewed Taylor the day before and I saw her on a golf cart heading to soundcheck the next day.
Yeah.
And I'm not kidding. I'm not exaggerating. She yelled out, Byron. I'm like, oh, hi.
Hey, Taylor.
Hey, Tay. Said, I worked something out. I'm like, what? No one has ever flown further to interview me ever in my career, because you flew from
That's so
Melbourne to
special.
Detroit, and that's as far as I think you can possibly fly. She actually knew that.
That's insane.
Isn't she just the coolest? And then during that show, Andrea, I think they still do it actually, Andrea went around the stadium and handpicked fans to go and have a pizza party with Taylor after the show. And so you've got
That's
all
so
these
special.
fans. And then we were kindly invited to the pizza party as well.
Of course.
So you have all these fans and you can just see the lives that she's changing one by one with every photo, with every chat, so giving of her time. And from all reports, because I saw the show in Melbourne, but I wasn't at the pizza party, but from all reports, she hasn't changed a bit. And I love that. And the interview was great fun. I reminded her of a cover version that Hanson did of one of her songs. And I asked her just if she had seen it. And she's like, I did see that Hanson did that on your show. I loved it. You know, and she just
That's so cool.
was across it. She said, oh, you have no idea how much I love that. So anyway, what I find is like interesting people are interested. I think that's what makes them interesting.
Yeah.
They're interested. And normally the bigger the star, the easier they are to deal with. I don't really have any war stories about bad celebrity guests, but as a general rule, you're more likely to have the problems with the ones that aren't quite there yet because they're not fully sure of themselves. So they might project a sort of awkward vibe of, I'm trying to look like I'm a big shot, but I don't actually believe I'm
faking it.
If you're as big as Taylor Swift, you've got nothing to prove. You too were like that as well. You know, like the big ones know they're big and they're just nice and they just get on with it. So, yeah, I think Taylor Swift was the most memorable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's an insane story, but I was kind of hinting at.
Oh, Remy B. No, Remy B. If
this
anyone,
interview.
sorry, Remy B.
No, I'm joking. That's a very.
The off-air chat I had with Remy B. That I put onto my podcast because it was so good was the second. I'll put that as a close second.
I'm happy with second to Taylor Swift.
With Ed Sheeran
honestly.
third.
Okay.
There you go.
Yeah.
How about that?
One below Taylor, one above Ed. I'm cool with that.
Yeah, you good with that?
Well, Byron, thank you so much for coming on.
That was fun.
And being on my podcast, a complete full circle moment that we've had now.
Honestly, I mean, I came back here for a holiday, but
I've got you in here working.
no, but it's the only thing. It's the only thing I'm going to do. I don't know if there's too much interest in me from elsewhere, but it's the only thing I'm going to do for my whole visit is your show because I'm just thrilled to be part of your story and you're a good friend
Thank
and
you.
I love your family and so yeah, it's a thrill to be here with you.
I really do appreciate you.
No worries at all.
Sparing the time.
It was weird being so nice to you though for an hour.
I know this is
When the
different
mics are
for
off,
us.
we'll go back to our normal stuff.
Well, thank you.
No worries, Remy.